Welcome to the 5% Club podcast, the space where ambitious leaders go to master their careers and their lives. I'm Shayla King, a former C-suite executive turned performance and happiness coach. And this is the podcast for leaders who want it all. The promotions, the paychecks, and luxurious amounts of time for what matters most. Each week, I'll teach you how to work less, make more, and design a life you love. Let's go. Welcome back to the 5% Club podcast. I'm Shayla King, your favorite delusionally happy executive coach. And in today's episode, we are talking about protecting your time, energy, and sanity guilt-free. Last episode, we talked about how guilt keeps us stuck in a cycle of overwhelm and resentment. But even when we know we shouldn't feel guilty, actually saying no, that's hard. So today, I'm giving you a simple trick for making decisions in your own best interest, without guilt, without over-explaining, and without feeling like a terrible person. And I'm sharing a mantra that I use every day to protect my time, my energy, and my peace. So why does saying no feel so hard? We're conditioned to think that saying no equals being selfish. And especially as women, we are designed to sacrifice, not be selfish. Everything we're supposed to do is supposed to be communal and to help others, not to help ourselves. And so not only does it go against society's expectations, it also goes against gender norms. And it's just, not what a good person would do. It's so ironic that we frame everything that way as a society, because actually the more we say yes and do things that we don't want to do, then the more resentful we become. And we show up as like a grouchier, more unpleasant version of ourselves to everyone. So in reality, when we say no, it makes our relationships healthier. We talked about this a little bit on the last episode, but when no one has to guess what we actually mean, and if we're doing something out of guilt and obligation, but instead we're actually doing it because we're totally happy to be there, totally happy to be participating in it, it just frees up the relationship to not have to second guess about the other person's feelings. And really, it's an undue burden. If you put that on yourself, and we've all had those situations where it's like, well, I know I said this, but they didn't even ask. And why didn't they follow up? And they should have known. No. People shouldn't have known. Say what you mean what you say. And part of that is because we have been conditioned to say yes when we don't mean it. And that we should say yes. And then that somebody should know that we said yes when we didn't mean it. Somebody should know we're doing too much and taking on too much and should come save us. It's not the way you're ever going to get to healthy boundaries, that you're ever going to get to a fulfilling, free life. You got to do it. You got to save yourself. All right. So let's talk about how. If we aren't intentional, we end up saying yes to everything except for ourselves. So we instead are going to say yes to the things that we want and nothing else. I have a sticky on my desk for years that said, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And it's just a good reminder that our default does not need to be on yes. And I'll do another podcast another time about the millions of different ways to say no more easily. Just like the idea of not ever saying yes in the moment, to stop volunteering, to always say, I need to check my calendar, to always give yourself 24 to 48 hours, to have default sayings that say things like, thank you so much for thinking of me. Let me get back to you, so that you don't feel the pressure in the moment. There's a ton of little tips and tricks that are good for that. And I'll do another full episode on those at another time. Let me know if that's something you're interested in so I can know where to prioritize it on the podcast list. But for today, I want to talk to you about creating a mantra that helps you with a value in your life and how you can use this for your decision making. So one of the mantras that I have that has transformed my life is that I have luxurious amounts of time for the things that matter most. Now, if you've known me for a long time, I used to have this hot mess mom identity. I was a high performer, hot mess mom, and that's how I subconsciously thought about myself. And with that became a lot of scatteredness. I felt like Kramer coming in rooms at the last minute, and I was just always barely getting by, barely getting there on time, and always rushing. I had my cortisol levels at an ongoing high level because I never figured out how to come down from that all day long. So now that's something that I have learned and mastered and I teach my clients is really how you can downshift throughout the day so that you're not running on that high stressful level. And we'll go into more of that another time as well. But what came out of that when I decided that I wanted to own my life and control my schedule and control my decisions, right? We have so much more power than we give ourselves credit for. And I wanted to take myself seriously. I wanted to take my business seriously. And I wanted to take my goals and my dreams seriously. So, as part of that, I had to control my time, which means I'm not a victim. I don't let shit happen to me. I'm in control and I say yes to the things I want to say yes to, and I say no to the things I don't. And you all know it's not that simple. But when you draw a line in the sand and say, nope, from now on, it's all on me. If I'm too busy, if I'm too rushed, if I'm not getting to the things that are important to me, it's my fault because I didn't design it. It's only two things it could be. Either you don't have, your schedule is not ideal, or you're not following your schedule. Those are the only two things it could be if you don't have the right amount of time, right? And so it would be both for me. On one hand, I would say yes to way too many things, have it packed in too much, opposite of an essentialist, right? I would be optimistic that somehow, some way, every single thing could get done as long as no one paused and asked me a question. There were no red lights. All technology worked all the time, and no one was a minute late to anything. And I didn't have to eat or pee that day, right? That's the kind of schedule that I would write. And of course, it was unrealistic and then it would fall apart. But I would make a schedule that was unreasonable. And then half the time, I still wouldn't have the discipline to follow it. So when I decided that I wanted to take myself seriously and I wanted to take my business and my dreams seriously, that meant that I had to own my schedule and I had to be disciplined enough to follow it, right? So the mantra that I have that I use for decision making now is I said, I get to create that schedule. What do I want it to look like? And this is my mantra. You can borrow it. I have luxurious amounts of time for the things that matter most. I have luxurious amounts of time for the things that matter most. Not just time, but luxurious amounts of time. I heard another coach use that. I absolutely loved the way it made me feel, right? Spacious, restful, relaxed. No longer back to back to back, stressed, high cortisol, hot mess mom, in control, right? So I use this as a filter whenever opportunities come up. Even if something is good and sounds fun, I'll zoom out and look at that day, that week, that month, and say, will this still give me luxurious amounts of time for what's already on my schedule? Or will it make me feel too busy? If it adds pressure, I say no, even if it's fun. My husband taught me this magical question that was, what would be the easiest? What's the simplest way? Those weren't even on my radar before. Everything in my life was complex. I thought it was lazy or like irrational or just not practical to ask those types of questions. What's the easiest way? What would be simplest? How can we not overwork this? Will you have luxurious amounts of time if you do this? So now, if it adds pressure, I say no, even if it's fun, even if it feels important, even if it's something that I'd want to do or think could add value. So the amount of spaciousness I have in my calendar now is amazing. And yet I'm getting more done than I ever have because I'm so intentional about what I choose to work on. And I work on, I mean, it's 80-20 rule, right? I work on those critical few things that drive the most value. That is in my business. That is with my clients. That is also with my family. What are the activities that we could agree to do that would give us the best time together, right? That would drive the relationship deeper, that would be the most meaningful. Those are the things that I say yes to. Okay, so I'll give you a quick example. This is real life example. It's my birthday weekend. And it's also my stepson, Evan, his 18th birthday. So, very big deal. And Friday night, we're going to his rugby game, which is so fun to watch. And it's not going to be cold. So, that's going to be great. And Saturday night, we decided for his birthday, we're going to take him to a UT basketball game. So, the whole fam is going. And that's what we're going to do Saturday night. So I could have thrown a birthday party for myself on Saturday during the day or on Sunday. And listen, I love my friends and my favorite brewery, Front Yard in Spicewood, Texas. If you haven't been there, you have to go. I mean, it's glorious. So it's like Five Soul Winery is on one side, which I also love. And they've got pickleball courts. It's huge open fields with the rolling Texas hills in the background. Kids are running around playing with soccer balls in the field from afar. You're relaxing in these chairs, or they've got bags or cornhole. I don't know what you call it wherever you live, or is there another name for it too? Depending on where I've lived, it's bags or cornhole. But they've got that. They've got fireplaces. They've got the chairs that I can't pronounce. You know, the big wood ones. I cannot say that word for the life of me for some reason. Anyhow, so it's like my favorite place here. It's beautiful design too, and I'm a really aesthetic person. And so it's like modern and cool, and get the lavender lemonade if you go. Anyhow, going there with all my friends sounds lovely. I would love to do that. I'm a very social person. I like big gatherings. I love front yard brewing. And so why wouldn't I want to do that? Because when I look at my schedule, I've got Friday night rugby game. We always go to the gym on Saturday mornings. That's a non-negotiable for me and my husband. And then we've got Saturday night driving into Austin and going to the basketball game. And so if I add something else on Saturday during the day or Sunday, I'm going to feel rushed. I'm not going to have time to recuperate. I'm not going to have time to get anything done around the house. I'm not going to have time to go on walks. I'm going to feel that level of cortisol. Like you can literally feel it when it goes like from your belly up to your chest. And it's like, okay, what's next? Okay, are we back yet? We got to hurry and drive back. We got to be done. What time is it? We got to get going. That is just unnecessary stress. It keeps us from being present. It keeps us from being relaxed. It keeps us from being happy. It keeps us from being creative because we're worried about the next thing instead of like just letting our brain go free. So instead of overloading my schedule, I'm choosing not to do it. Maybe next weekend. I don't know. I'm flying back. I probably won't want to do anything that Sunday either. So maybe in a few weeks, maybe never. And that's okay. Because instead of overloading my schedule, I'm choosing not to do it. Because my mantra is I have luxurious amounts of time for the things that matter most. And if I don't have that, I don't do it. It's that simple. No guilt. I feel great about it because I made the decision that's in my own best interest. When I sat down with my frontal lobe and decided what I want out of life, right? I decided that this was critical to me having a happy life. I know how I show up when I'm busy and overwhelmed. It's not good, right? I'm grouchy. I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. I'm short with people. I'm rude. I know I want to avoid that. And I know that I feel powerful and strong and in charge and happy and in the moment when I have luxurious amounts of time. So we're not going to Front Yard, not this weekend. And I feel freaking great about it. That is what I want you to do. It doesn't have to be my mantra about time. You can choose any mantra in your life of an area that you want to improve. But I want you to come up with something that is you have so much conviction in, that you're so sure that's how you want your life to be, that it gets to be that North Star for you. That's what we do with my clients when we create your vision blueprint, is that we help you design exactly what good looks like for your life. So you have that North Star so that you can say, does this decision line up and help me with this thing? And if it doesn't, we don't do it. We don't have to feel guilty about it. We don't have to worry what other people think. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It matters that the thing that we said was most important, that we do that. And when we're very clear about it, we can do it not only when we're in a good place emotionally, physically, but we can also do it when we're in our irrational survival brain because it's so clear. Otherwise, we only make good decisions when we feel good. And we don't want to leave it up to that. We can't leave it up to our brain for that. We've got to set the standard, and then that's who we act like all the time. And that's how we transform our lives. All right, as always, I've got a little evolve work for you. So this week, I want you to think, where is one place in your calendar that you can protect? Not just to have time, but to have luxurious amounts of time. And what's one thing you can say no to so that you can have more space to breathe and enjoy what matters most? DM me and let me know what you're protecting this week. And if this helped, send it to a friend who struggles with saying no and would love to have you leave the pod a 5-star review. And you can join the 5% Club waitlist at shaylaking.com. And I love helping leaders work less, make more, and design a life you love. I will see you next week. Thanks for joining me in the 5% Club today. If you're ready to work less, make more, and design a life you love, go to shaylaking.com to join the 5% Club waitlist. Each Monday, I'll send you something you can implement immediately, and you'll be the first to know when applications open for the Performance and Happiness Lab, my group training program designed to accelerate you into a happy, confident executive who loves their whole life. See you there.